was granted one wish. Before I die, let me visit both hell and heaven. Her wish was granted. She was whisked off to a great banqueting hall. The tables were piled high with delicious food and drink. Around the tables sat miserable, starving people as wretched as could be. Why are they like this? She asked the angel who accompanied her. Look at their arms, the angel replied. She looked and saw that attached to the people's arms were long chopsticks secured above the elbow. Unable to bend their elbows, the people aimed the chopsticks at the food, missed every time and sat hungry, frustrated and miserable. Indeed, this is hell. Take me away from here. She was then whisked off to heaven. Again, she found herself in a great banqueting hall with tables piled high. Around the tables sat people laughing, contented, joyful. No chopsticks, I suppose, she said. Oh yes, there are. Look, just as in hell, they are long and attached above the elbow. However, people here have learned to feed one another. So, the same situation could be heaven or hell, depending on your behavior. Story 13. The Missing Watch. There once was a farmer who discovered that he had lost his watch in his barn. It was no ordinary watch because it had some sentimental value for him. After searching high and low among the hay for a long while, he gave up and enlisted the help of a group of children playing outside the barn. He promised them that the person who found it would be rewarded. Hearing this, the children hurried inside the barn, went through and around all the hay, but still could not find the watch. Just when the farmer was about to give up, looking for his watch, a little boy went up to him and asked to be given another chance. The farmer looked at him and thought, why not? After all, this kid looks sincere enough. So the farmer sent the little boy back in the barn. After a while, the little boy came out with the watch in his hand. The farmer was both happy and surprised, and so he asked the boy how he succeeded where the rest had failed. The boy replied, I did nothing but sit on the ground and listen. In the silence, I heard the ticking of the watch and just looked for it in that direction. So, a peaceful mind can think better than a worked-up mind. Allow yourself a few minutes of peace and silence every day and see how it helps you. Story 14. Counting Apples. A teacher teaching maths to 7-year-old Lake asked him, if I give you one apple, and one apple, and one apple, how many apples will you have? Within just a few seconds, Lake replied confidently, 4. The dismayed teacher was expecting an effortless correct answer, 3. She was disappointed. Maybe the child did not listen properly, she thought. She repeated, Lake, listen carefully. If I give you one apple, and one apple, and one apple, How many apples will you have? Lake had seen the disappointment on his teacher's face. He calculated again on his fingers, but within him, he was also searching for the answer that would make the teacher happy. His search for the answer was not for the correct one, but the one that would make his teacher happy. This time, hesitatingly, he replied, 4. The disappointment stayed on the teacher's face. She remembered that Lake liked strawberries. She thought maybe he didn't like apples, and that was making him lose focus. This time, with an exaggerated excitement and twinkling in her eyes, she asked, "If I give you 1 strawberry, and 1 strawberry, and 1 strawberry, then how many will you have?" Seeing the teacher happy, young Lake calculated on his fingers again. There was no pressure on him, but a little on the teacher. She wanted her new approach to succeed. With a hesitating smile, young Lake replied, 3, right? The teacher now had a victorious smile. Her approach had succeeded. She wanted to congratulate herself. But one last thing remained. Once again, she asked him, "Now, if I give you 1 apple, and 1 apple, and 1 apple, how many will you have?" Promptly, Lake answered, 4. The teacher, aghast. "How, Lake, how?" she demanded in a stern and irritated voice. In a voice that was low and hesitating, young Lake replied, "Because I already have 1 apple in my bag." So when someone gives you an answer that is different from what you expect, don't think they are wrong. There could be an answer that you may not have thought about yet. Story 15. The Strength of Group Work. Once, a US president went out to see the situation in a city. Somewhere, a group of soldiers was trying to lift a large tree branch out of their way. The corporal was standing by their side, instructing them to work harder, but they were unable to move it. A stranger was riding on his horse, and he observed what was going on. He said to the corporal, "If you help them, they will be able to move it. Why don't you help them?" The corporal replied, "That is not my job. I'm the corporal. It is their work. They should do it." The stranger did not hesitate a moment. Immediately, he dismounted from his horse and helped the group of soldiers to move that log. This additional strength helped them to move the log. After moving it, the stranger mounted his horse and said to the corporal, "Next time, you need to move some heavy thing and you need help, call for the commander-in-chief, and went on his way. It was then that the man realized that the stranger was none other than George Washington, the first president of the United States, the commander-in-chief of the army. So, a true leader is never above helping others. Story 16. The Time Bank. Imagine there's a bank that credits your account each morning with $86,400,000. It carries over no balance from day to day. Every evening, it deletes whatever part of the balance you fail to use during the day. What would you do? Withdraw every cent, of course. Each of us has such a bank. Its name is time. Every morning, it credits you with 86,400 seconds. Every night, it writes off as lost whatever of this you have failed to invest. It carries over no balance. It allows no overdraft. Each day, it opens a new account for you. Each night, it burns the remains of the day. And if you fail to use today's deposits, the loss is yours. There's no going back. You can't borrow from others. You must live in the present on today's deposits. Invest it so as to get from it the utmost in health, happiness, and success. The clock is ticking. Make the most of today. So, don't waste your time. Make the most of every second. Story 17. The value of knowledge. A giant ship's engine failed. The ship's owners tried one expert after another, but none of them could figure out how to fix the engine. Then they brought in an old man who had been fixing ships since he was young. He carried a large bag of tools with him, and when he arrived, he immediately went to work. He inspected the engine very carefully, top to bottom. Two of the ship's owners were there watching this man, hoping he would know what to do. After looking things over, the old man reached onto his bag and pulled out a small hammer. He gently tapped something. Instantly, the engine came to life. He carefully put his hammer away. The engine was fixed. A week later, the owners received a bill from the old man for $10,000. What? The owners exclaimed. He hardly did anything. So they wrote the old man a note saying, "Please send us an itemized bill." The man sent a bill that read, "Tapping with a hammer, $2. Knowing where to tap, $9,998. So, effort is important, but knowledge will help you get the job done effectively. Keep studying hard. Story 18. The value of time. To realize the value of 1 year, ask the student who had failed his final exam. To realize the value of 1 month, ask the parent of a premature baby. To realize the value of 1 week, ask the editor of a weekly newspaper. To realize the value of 1 day, ask the daily wage laborer who has a large family to feed. To realize the value of 1 hour, ask lovers who are waiting to meet. To realize the value of 1 minute, ask the person who had missed the train, a bus or a plane. To realize the value of 1 second, ask the person who has survived an accident. To realize the value of 1 millisecond, ask the person who has won a silver medal at the Olympics. Time is more valuable than you think. Why dogs live shorter lives than humans. Being a veterinarian, I had been called to examine a 10-year-old Irish wolfhound named Belker. The dog's owners, Ron, his wife Lisa, and their little boy Sean, were all very attached to Belker, and they were hoping for a miracle. I examined Belker and found he was dying. I told the family we couldn't do anything for Belker and offered to perform euthanasia on the old dog in their home. As we made arrangements, Ron and Lisa told me they thought it would be good for 6-year-old Sean to observe the procedure. They felt as though Sean might learn something from the experience. The next day, I felt the familiar catch in my throat as Belker's family surrounded him. Sean seemed so calm, petting the old dog for the last time, that I wondered if he understood what was going on. Within a few minutes, Belker slipped peacefully away. The little boy seemed to accept Belker's transition without any difficulty or confusion. We sat together for a while after Belker's death, wondering aloud about the sad fact that animal lives are shorter than humans' lives. Sean, who had been listening quietly, piped up, "I know why." Startled, we all turned to him. What came out of his mouth next stunned me. I had never heard a more comforting explanation. He said, "People are born so that they can learn how to live a good life. Like loving everybody all the time and being nice, right?" The 6-year-old continued, "Well, dogs already know how to do that, so they don't have to stay as long. So, humans have many lessons to learn from dogs." Story 20. The Trouble Tree. The carpenter I hired to help me restore an old farmhouse had just finished a rough first day on the job. A flat tire made him lose an hour of work. His electric saw died, and now his ancient pickup truck refused to start. While I drove him home, he sat in stony silence. On arriving, he invited me to meet his family. As we walked toward the front door, he paused briefly at a small tree, touching the tips of the branches with both hands. After opening the door, he had an amazing transformation. His face was all smiles, and he hugged his 2 small children and then gave his wife a kiss. Afterwards, he walked me to my car. We passed the tree, and my curiosity got the better of me. I asked him about what I had seen him do earlier. "Oh, that's my trouble tree," he replied. "I know I can't help having troubles on the job. But one thing's for sure, troubles don't belong in the house with my wife and children. So I just hang them up on the tree every night when I come home. Then in the morning, I pick them up again." Funny thing is, he smiled, when I come out in the morning to pick them up, there aren't nearly as many as I remember hang up in the night before. So, you may have many problems in your everyday life, but try not to let them affect your relationships with the people you love. Story 21. couple's heartbreak. A boy was born to a couple after 11 years of marriage. They were a loving couple and the boy was the apple of their eyes. One morning, when the boy was around 2 years old, the husband saw a medicine bottle open. He was late for work, so he asked the wife to cap the bottle and put it in the cupboard. The mother, preoccupied in the kitchen, totally forgot about it. The boy saw the bottle, went to it, and drank it all, fascinated with its color. It was a poisonous medicine meant for adults in small dosages. When the child collapsed, the mother hurried him to the hospital where he died. The mother was stunned. She was terrified. How would she face her husband? When the distraught father came to the hospital and saw the dead child, he looked at his wife and uttered just 4 words. "I love you, darling." The husband had realized the child was dead and he could never be brought back to life. There was no point in finding fault with the father. Besides, if he had taken time to put the bottle away, this would never have happened. There was no point in assigning blame. She had also lost her only child. What she needed at that moment was consolation and sympathy from her husband. That was what he gave her. So, even in difficult moments, try to have sympathy for those around you. They may be suffering too. Story: Growing Deep and Strong. One day, my mother and I were working together in the garden where we were transplanting plants for the 3rd time. Grown from seed in a small container, the plants had been transferred to a larger container and transplanted into the garden. Now, because I was moving, we were transplanting them once again. Inexperienced as a gardener, I turned to my mother. "Isn't this bad for them?" I asked. As we dug them up and shook the dirt from the roots, wouldn't it hurt these plants? Being uprooted and transplanted so many times. "Oh," my mother replied, "transplanting doesn't hurt them. In fact, it's good for the ones that survive. That's how their roots grow strong. Their roots will grow deep and they will make strong plants." Often, I felt like those small plants, uprooted and turned upside down. Sometimes I've endured the change willingly, sometimes reluctantly, but usually my reaction has been a combination. "Won't this be hard on me?" I asked. "Wouldn't things be better if they remained the same?" That's when I remember my mother's words. That's how the roots grow deep and strong. So, don't fear change. It will make you a stronger person. Story 22:3. Carrots, Eggs and Coffee. A young woman went to her mother and told her about her life and how things were so hard for her. She did not know how she was going to make it and wanted to give up. She was tired of fighting and struggling. It seemed when one problem was solved, a new one arose. Her mother took her to the kitchen, She filled 3 pots with water and placed each on a high fire. Soon the pots came to boil. In the first, she placed carrots. In the second, she placed eggs. And in the last, she placed ground coffee beans. She let them sit and boil without saying a word. In about 20 minutes, she turned off the burners. She fished the carrots out and placed them in a bowl. She pulled the eggs out and placed them in a bowl. And then she laid the coffee out and placed it in a bowl. Turning to her daughter, she asked, "Tell me what you see." "Carrots, eggs, and coffee," she replied. Her mother brought her closer and asked her to feel the carrots. She did and noted that they were soft. The mother then asked the daughter to take an egg and break it. After pulling it off the shelf, she observed the hard-boiled egg. Finally, the mother asked the daughter to sip the coffee. The daughter smiled as she tasted its rich aroma. The daughter then asked, "What does that mean, mother?" Her mother explained that each of these objects had faced the same adversity, boiling water. Each reacted differently. The carrot went in strong, hard, and unrelenting. However, after being subjected to the boiling water, it softened and became weak. The egg had been fragile. Its thin outer shell had protected its liquid interior. But after sitting in the boiling water, its inside became hardened. However, the ground coffee beans were unique. After they were in the boiling water, they had changed the water. "Which are you?" she asked her daughter. "When adversity knocks on your door, how do you respond? Are you a carrot, an egg, or a coffee bean? Think of this. Which am I? Am I the carrot that seems strong, but with pain and adversity? Do I become soft and lose my strength? Am I the egg that started with a soft heart, but changes with the heat? In other words, does adversities make my soft and open heart harden? Or am I like the coffee bean? The bean actually changes the hot water, the very circumstances that brings the pain. When the water gets hot, it releases the fragrance and flavor. If you're like the bean, when things are at their worst, you get better and change the situation around you. So, how do you handle adversity? Are you a carrot, an egg, or a coffee bean?